Right guys, back again. So this video, as you would have seen in that very long start to this video where I didn't say a word, disc brake conversion. Disc brake conversion done using the Hilux. This is off an 84 model two-wheel drive Hilux, this front end assembly. So using the spindle and disc brakes and that from it. So why these parts are so rusty and I fought so much to get them apart is I bought them for next to nothing, because everyone with the Crowns keeps saying that you have to use the specific early model Hilux to get this to work, whereas this wasn't the case. This will work from the early one right up to the 90s model Hilux, whichever one, essentially whichever you can buy the drop spindle for. So I'm able to put a drop spindle on this. I don't know if I'm going to, because I want to keep the billets on the car. So for now it's just going to stay with the standard spindle and work out how low I can get it, and if it comes to it and I need the spindle to get it to lay frame and sill, then I'll worry about that at that stage. But at the moment, just trying to work with not going the spindle route because of the rim size. So, but everything's worked out really well so far. I do need to get the SR5 two-wheel drive caliper, because the SR5 does not have this big chunky bolt at the top, which does hit on that when it's at a certain level. So that being said, I can put the bump stop in there, because there's no bump stop in there to stop the turning radius, so that can be worked out later. But if I get the SR5 one, we lose that big bolt there and go to just a regular caliper. But there's many caliper options for a Hilux spindle and that, so I'm not too stressed about that at the moment. That's all working. I have got all the bottom control arm halfway finished. It's not fully finished. I've just got the plate, the spring perch cut out, and a plate welded in. Underneath, I will weld it underneath as well. So far it's only welded on the top because I'm just working out the bag placement at the moment, so I can drill the hole for the bag. And then once that hole's drilled, then I'll put two cross gussets across here in that arm. But at the moment I need to work out where the bag goes before I go any further with that bottom arm. Then once that's done, the bottom arm's pretty much finished. I have the new Hilux lower ball joint in there. So Hilux lower ball joint, and if we come around to here, it is running the Crown upper ball joint, so factory Crown upper ball joint. And then at the moment I've just got the Crown tie rod end in there, but that's just for now because I've got to drill out that spindle for the Hilux one. Or actually no, I don't have to drill it out. I actually just have to change the end of the steering thing. So a bit of messing around, but for now, just to get this thing working, to work out the bag placement, I just left the Crown one in there and just bolted it in like that. So what we've got here is we have the new Crown upper ball joint, the Hilux lower ball joint, the Hilux tie rod end, and also two brand new Slam Specialties RE5 bags, which will be going in to this lower arm. So I have not modified this lower arm. This lower arm is still exactly how it was. I got all the mock-up done on the other side. So if we come over here, you will see these bolt holes line up perfectly. So I do have to drill them out, and also I have to cut the grease nipple section out of there, because this is just for the factory Crown. There's a grease nipple that comes up through there. So cut that off and trim that down, and it will look exactly like this does. So you can see in there it's trimmed out, fits perfectly fine, and those bolts actually align with the factory crown bolt holes. So the only thing I had to do was drill them out to the larger size Hilux bolt. So I just had to drill them out slightly, and that bolts straight into that lower arm and puts that spindle onto the crown. Very, very simple. So there's that. So I just have to trim that out, and then also have to cut the spring perch out, which I've done to the other arm, and put some plate in. So we'll get stuck in and get this side done. That way then I've got both sides done, and then I can start working on the bag plate. So the idea for this is I will be putting bag cups into the front end of this, which go up in the original spring perch, very much like an Impala. So this is basically copying the idea of bagging in an Impala. Because it's an X chassis, all that sort of stuff, this thing is very, very similar. So what we got here is we've got the bag cup, spring cup, and the bag cup will go in there, which is this very large diameter piece of pipe I have up here. So we'll cut that out, and then I have my bag plate, which is perfect size for the spring. So all that's perfect size for the spring cup. Then I have threaded rod. I actually have the high tensile threaded rod actually in the house garage at the moment, so got to get that, make the spring cup up, and then the threaded rod will come up through this with a bolt which will hold that spring cup, bag cup into the spring cup. And then I will be drilling and putting a tube, welding a tube into here, and my airline will go from the bag cup, top of the bag, and come out through the chassis here, and then I can make some plates up to hold my airline, and it will run down along the chassis all the way to the back of the car, into the boot, where all the fun and magic happens. So, oh, fell over. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So I will get stuck in, get this other arm all cut out, linished, done and welded in, so I can get all this front end up to the same level as the other side already is, ready to start working out the bag cups. So I'll do that, and we will revisit it and see where we're at after that happens. So let's get busy. A lot of chatting, a lot of talking, but obviously without this stuff, God knows what I'm up to. So let's get busy, let's do some work. Yep.